It's a little bit easier for Californians. State Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher is here with the details on that. Sir, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
All right, before we get to the details of this, obviously this hits home for you.
Right.
So kind of give us explain how this whole thing got started because of how it affected your life.
I just want to point out a little ironic, we're at the Fox 5 Baby Factory,
Yeah.
talking about adoption.
Right,
right. You guys are doing good, but you know, my wife and I, just over 3 years ago, experienced the amazing blessing of adoption for the first time with my boy Zachary. And it's, you know, it's an amazing experience. There's thousands, tens of thousands of children that need a good, loving home. And adoption is a wonderful route and pathway for people to either start their family or add to it. And as we went through it, though, we saw a lot of problems in the system and a lot of inefficiencies and ways we thought we could do it better. And so I've authored multiple pieces of legislation every year to try and make it a little bit easier in hopes that just a few children will have success finding a loving home.
If you could summarize quickly, how does the adoption process work now? What are the details and what are some of the hurdles?
Well, it's one of the problems is it's hard to summarize because it's a really long process. But there's a number of options. You can do international, you can go through the county, or you can go through a private adoption agency. But you know what you find as you go through it is a kind of bureaucratic maze of paperwork and lawyers and fees. And we have to have a safe and secure system, and we have to make sure children are only going to good, loving homes.
And look, speaking of good loving,
yeah,
look at your two
guy.
little. Look at Zach. Man, Zach's getting
older.
older.
And there's Caleb. So Caleb's my second baby. He's 4 months old. He's teething. So you think you get up early to watch the morning news. You get that teething baby. You just never actually go to sleep.
Z-Man's already babysitting, really?
Oh, my gosh. He's in charge. He runs the house.
How sweet is that?
He runs the house.
See,
he tells me what he wants to do. Last night he goes, actually, Daddy, I would rather do this.
That's what it's all about, really. So let's talk about some of the provisions.
Yep.
You're talking about tightening some of the deadlines.
Right.
Explain what all this entails.
Well, there's a number of things as you go through it. I mean, there's fluctuating deadlines. There's things that take longer than they should. You know, for example, to get the birth certificate, sometimes the child will be over a year old before you ever actually get the new birth certificate. We really wanted to try and ease the process for people to adopt out of the foster care system. You know, if they have a foster child, to be able to adopt out of there. Legislation we did last year, because we've done a number of these, actually tightened up the criminal background checks to make sure that they're getting done for foreign adoptions and sent overseas. And what we're really trying to do is just save people a little bit of money, streamline a process, ensure there's safeguards. But let's help people. Let's help people that want to take a child that needs a home and give them that loving environment.
What is the cost of adoption? Because I've heard a lot of people say, you know what, we would love to, but it's too expensive.
It's so expensive. Well, it ranges. It depends on from international to the county. But I think you should plan our budget for about $20,000.
Wow.
To take a child, and there's got to be a way to make it more affordable, because so often when you have children in need, children are made to pay for the decisions of adults, and these kids that need a home didn't do anything wrong. It's not their fault, and to be able to get them in a stable environment is not only the right thing to do, but it's potentially saving kids that would end up in a foster care system or perhaps in the juvenile justice system.
Some people in this country, because they have found that adoption in the U.S. tends to be so difficult, they go international.
Yep.
But some would argue that some of the barriers we have in place in this country are there to protect the children.
Right.
What do you say to that?
Well, I actually wanted to do international adoption first, and my wife said, what do you think? And I said, definitely international. I lived overseas, and she said, no, I'm thinking domestic. And I said, no, I'm pretty sure we'll do international. And yeah, both of my boys were born in San Diego, so you see how negotiation works in my house. But you know, either option's good. You know, there's kids here that need a home, but then there's also children from abroad that need a home. But it's a different process. When you adopt internationally, you're probably not going to get the child right after they're born. You're probably looking at 8-9 months before you actually bring them home. Where with domestic adoption, Zach, we were in the room when he was born.
Oh, wow.
And brought him home and brought Caleb home the first day. So it's an amazing thing.
What's the timeline here for getting this passed?
Well, it's passed, so now it's on the governor's desk, awaiting signature, and we expect he'll sign it. And this is the third adoption legislation we've done, and we're looking at some ideas for next year, because it's one of those things that you just the more you dig into it, the more you uncover needs to be fixed.
State Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher. Beautiful family picture, by the way.